Alright, hello everybody. So, like the title says, last time we were together, we built the Porta-Paddle 2 from American Morse Equipment. And they sell several different 3D printed bases for this. Actually, I'm sorry, they sell different magnetic bases, but I wanted to design my own, and I have some other ideas for bases that go with, for instance, my knee board that I made. I can 3D print it, so I want to make a base that I can snap into it. But for now, I picked up this inexpensive bench block from Amazon. I looked around and found the I guess the heaviest one I could find that was about this size. This one's about 1.5 pounds, which should be fine for this lightweight key. Just got a steel top. It's very heavy. It's used for like leather work and jewelry work, but I'm going to use it to hold my key. So to go along with that, I picked up some little magnets. These are 6mm by 3mm. They're not terribly strong, so I think what I'm going to do is put provisions for quite a few of them in the base, and then we might might not need them all, but at least they're there if we do need them. So there's that. So to get started, basically I'm going to need the paddle, of course, have some calipers for doing measurements, and I do all my 3D modeling in Fusion 360. So let's go ahead and jump over there and see if we can get started. I'm going to grab my keyboard here. Alright, so Fusion 360 is, the way that this works is basically you design in 2D by drawing a two-dimensional sketch, and you extrude that into 3 dimensions. So for example, let's just draw a simple rectangle here, and then I can actually take this and extrude it, let's say 4mm tall. And then if I wanted to have some other geometry, I can put a sketch on this face. Let's just put another rectangle here. Oops, rectangle. And now if I wanted to, I can actually extrude this into or out of the body that we have. So I can make a cut in like that, or I can make it come out like that. So basically that's what we're going to be doing to create this base. So first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this. Alright, so let's measure our base here. I don't know if you can see that, but it is about 38mm wide and about 47.5mm long. So yeah, 38 by 48. So let's go ahead and start off. There's a couple different ways to do this. Since it has rounded corners, I'm trying to think of what's the way that I actually want to accomplish this. I'm just going to start a rectangle. Let's do 48 by 38mm. So there's our rectangle. Let's see, the rounded corners, there's a couple ways you can actually do a fillet or fillet here. But I don't know the diameter of the arc. So let's see, let's try just creating an arc, a 3-point arc. And what you can do is, that didn't work at all. You can basically create an arc. Actually, this is what I want, a tangent arc. Maybe this isn't what I want. There we go. And it'll kind of snap to where it's, actually actually, that did not work at all. I'm going to make this tangent to that line and this tangent to that line. Then what I can do is just trim off the excess here. Usually this works pretty well to get the radius correct, but without knowing the exact, I don't have a good way to measure the radius here. So this will at least get us in the ballpark, and 3D printing is easy and cheap, so it shouldn't be too bad. I mean, our exposure is not too bad, assuming this is wrong. So let's do the same thing up here. Trim off the excess. It still doesn't, I'm not sure why my arc foo is not very good today. There we go, that looks better. Oh, that looks much bigger than this one. I'm going to actually start over, I think. Let's see. You know, actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset this line 5 millimeters. I'm going to flip it to the other side. I'm going to make it a offset this 5 millimeters to this side. I'm going to make this a construction line. So what a construction line does is basically, if I make this a regular line, you can see how it kind of segments the shape into 2 pieces. Well, I don't want to do that. This is really just for me to get a place to snap my arcs to. So I'm going to do that. Now let's create our arc. What I'm going to do is snap to this line and this line, and then just go to where it kind of snaps into place. And now I'm going to do the same thing here. Offset this by 5 millimeters. And I'm going to offset this by 5 millimeters. And then make these both construction lines. And you can make them construction lines by just hitting X on the keyboard, or there's a line type pop up here, which for some reason isn't showing on the screen. I guess because it's a pop-up, but there's a menu here that lets you pick it, or I always use keyboard shortcuts, so I just hit the X key to toggle back and forth. Now I'm going to make a 3-point arc on all these corners. And again, I don't know if this is the right radius. But it's easy enough to fix that later. There we go. We got our kind of tangent snap. You can see this little symbol here. This is a constraint. And so basically, what this does in Fusion is it constrains 2 pieces of geometry. So in this case, this arc is constrained to being tangent to both of these lines, which is exactly what we want. Not quite get that snapped correctly, so let's do this again. And there you can see both of our tangent constraints. So this sketch is what's called fully constrained, and you can see because all of the lines are black, that means it understands all the geometry here. When I trim, well, that was not at all correct. Let's see. Not sure what's going on. Why are you doing this? Well, either way, it doesn't matter. I don't need to trim them because you can see that the arc kind of supersedes this. It segments, as I said, the black lines segment the geometry, because this is not a construction line. So if I make this arc a construction arc, now you can see that this corner is actually part of the main geometry, which is obviously not what I want. But now I can take just this piece and I can extrude it. And I'm going to extrude it. Let's see what I want to do. I need it to be deep enough for my magnets, which are about, well, they're 2.7 millimeters deep. But also what I think I'm going to do to attach to the base, this is aluminum, so it's non-magnetic, so there's no way that I'm going to be able to get getting magnets to stick to this. So I'm going to use a keyhole, kind of like you find in the back of a picture frame or something, where the head of the screw slots through a big circle, and then basically goes to a smaller slot, a keyhole slot. Hey Doug, thanks for tuning in. Gotta remember to look at the chat. Last time I had some viewers and didn't actually didn't remember to go say hi, so thanks for watching. And so let's see, we're going to go ahead and extrude this. So I need at least 3 millimeters deep for the magnets. Let's take one of these screws out, kind of see what we got here for the size of the head of the screw here. So the keyhole needs to be about 6.3, I think that's backwards to you guys, but 6.3 millimeters, and the depth is about 3 millimeters. So I need 3 millimeters for the screw, 3 millimeters for the magnets. We need at least 6 millimeters deep, and then I want a little bit of slop. So there's several types of extrudes that you can do. I'm going to do a new body extrude, so this is basically going to take this sketch geometry and it's going to extrude into 3 dimensions. So we said we need at least 6. I'm going to go ahead and make it 10 just to start off. So now you can see we have a 3-dimensional body here, and that gives us the ability to, I'm just actually starting to switch to the right screen. So this gives us the ability to, now we can, as I showed earlier, we can kind of make a sketch on the top of this to actually create our magnets and our keyholes. The first thing I'm going to do is actually make sure, let me grab a ruler here, it might be easier than calipers. These holes look like they are in the center of the key base. 48 and 24, yeah, so the holes are right in the middle, which is good. So let's start on the keyholes. So I'm going to go up here and create a new sketch, and instead of putting it on one of these planes, I'm actually going to put it on the 3D body itself. So now we can just draw here. So one thing I can do, when I draw a line, you can, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little blue X, and when you get to the center of this line, there's a little triangle that pops up. So this basically, well, that tells me I'm in the middle of that line. And then similarly on the bottom, and I really doubt you'll be able to see this, but like we talked about the constraints earlier, there'll be a right angle box down here to constrain this. So again, I don't want this cutting my geometry, so I'm going to hit X to make it a construction line. And just to make sure, I'm going to inspect and measure this. So if I measure from this edge to this edge, it should be 24 millimeters, which it is, so we're exactly in the middle. So now we need to see how far over the center of that hole is, and it looks like it's about, let's see, I'm gonna let you guys see this here, about 3.5 millimeters, I believe. So what I'm going to do is the same thing we did before. I'm going to offset this 3.5. I'm going to flip it to this side, and I'm going to make this a construction line. I'm going to do that down here, 3.5. Flip her over to this side, and then make it a construction line. So now at the intersection of this point, we can actually start to make our keyhole. So we know, let's see, oh, I don't know, I keep forgetting to switch screens. So what I did was offset this line 3.5 millimeters, offset this line 3.5 millimeters on the bottom. That gives me 2 new lines here. I made those construction lines because I don't want to split my geometry. And then that gives me an intersection here where I can actually snap my circle to. So let me do this to, actually I'm going to get my calipers out. I'm going to measure, actually, yeah, I'll measure the diameter of this. I'll double check with the screw. That's about 2.9 millimeters. And my screw thickness, let's see, my screw is about 3.2 millimeters thick. So I think if we make maybe a 3.5 millimeter hole to give a little clearance, when you 3D print stuff, many times your holes will shrink. They'll print a little smaller because you're printing with melting plastic. So I like to give a little bit clearance, and there are actually ways to measure the clearance on your printer, how much extra you need to allow. I'm not going to do that in this video, but mine generally prints pretty close to, true. I've got an Ender 3, but I always do still give it a little bit of slop. So I'm going to make this 3.5. Put another circle here, just 3.5. And then what I want to do, I forget the measurement I had for my screw head here. It was, looks like, let's see here. Get this on here. There we go. 6.3. So we're going to make him like 6.5 maybe. And what I want to do, so basically this is the small, let's see, how do I want to do this? I've never designed a keyhole before, so this might be wrong. What I want to do, I want to make a channel that is the size of the head to slide through. And then that's going to seat, yeah, that's going to seat in the center. So we may need to make a couple of different cuts here. I might have to make a couple of kind of chain sketches here. So let's see. I think what we want to do, the head of the screw needs to be able to slide all the way across. So I'm actually going to make this 6.5. Ooh, that's a little tight to the edge. I'm not sure. This might not actually, no, that looks like it's about the same. If we look at our key base here, you can see the screw head comes really close to the edge. So I generally like to have a little more clearance than that. But we'll see how this works. Again, this is part of ham radio, just experimenting, right? We're gonna make mistakes, we're gonna fix them and learn stuff along the way. So what I want to do is this circle actually needs to be however long we want our keyhole to be. So how long do we want our keyhole to be? I'm not sure how long a keyhole normally is. Let's see. The way I'm going to do this is like I like to do a lot of things. So Fusion 360, if you don't know, it's a parameterized drawing program, so we can actually make parameters. And once everything is dimensioned, if we change those parameters, everything that changes off of those later kind of moves with it, which is nice. So rather than drawing new geometry, I like to base it off of other things. So let's see if we just move this guy over. A couple of screw head widths. Again, let's make him a construction line. So we're going to draw our 6.5 millimeter circle here, and what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to just make a couple of tangent lines to draw, or to chain these together. So let's manually put us a tangent straight this line to this, and then we'll same thing on the bottom, so I'm hitting L to make a line. I know you probably can't see a lot of this. It's even hard for me to see. There's a little blue box that pops up, and it helps us know where to snap our geometry to. So I'm snapping to the intersection of that line and the circle in both cases. And it also is a tangent. So what I'm going to do is trim. Let's see if this works better this time. Yeah, there we go. Let's trim off the inside of that circle. So now you can see we've got a nice little slot here that we can actually extend. We can extrude that down. And what was the measurement of the thickness of our head here was 3.2. So what I'm going to do is highlight both sections of this. It's not that line. Highlight both sections of this, and I'm going to extrude it minus 0.5. So now, if we look here, we've got a slot for the head to slide through. So now what I want to do, and again, I think we're going to have to play around. I'm not sure this is going to work quite the way I want it to, but we can highlight all the pieces. Let's see, so what we want to do. We want to how do we want to handle this? So there's our slot. Need to think about this here. I'm not a mechanical guy. I do a lot of mechanical design for ham radio stuff, but I'm a software engineer, so this always makes my brain hurt a little bit whenever I do this. Usually I end up getting it right after a couple tries, but if you have any suggestions, drop them in the chat. So what if we let's go back to the sketch. Let's right click here and edit this sketch again. So I want that slot to go all the way through. But really what I want a 3.5 millimeter circle here. And I want a 3.5 millimeter circle here. If we finish this sketch, does that get us what we want? If we take that, so I think what we want actually, we want a small, if I extrude this up, let's just say 2 millimeters, just for fun. And let's turn off our sketches. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, because it's, no, that should have worked. Because what I want to do now, screw needs to slide in there. Maybe we need to draw some lines. I'm trying to visualize what a keyhole looks like in my head. Just draw some lines and snap them to that arc. visualization purposes here. So our slot goes down there. Let's get rid of these lines because we definitely don't need these. Is that what we want? Might be what I want. Let's go back. So another thing about Fusion is it tracks your history. So I can go back through here and I can select our extrudes. And if I just delete that, now it's like it never happened. So now I think what I want to do, actually I want to do some more trimming here. Let me go back and edit this sketch again. Oh, I'm already in the sketch, so I want to do a trim. Alright, so now, I think if I extrude that down, where were we? I think it was -4 maybe? I think it was 3.5, but, and then, no, because now I need to cut. Cut out this big circle all the way across so the head can slide. But I think maybe we're onto something, because this is kind of what I want. So let's do the same thing down here. Actually, I'm just going to do it once, make sure we get it right. So what I think I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a new sketch, and I'm going to do it on that face. So I put a sketch down at the bottom of our hole here. And I'm going to turn off our body for a second just so I can see it. And then, actually I'm going to turn off, let's see, do I want to turn off? What I want to do actually is create a projection. So what this is going to actually do is project geometry from our sketch up above us to the sketch we're currently working on. So I'm going to project that geometry because that's the head size, and then I'm going to turn off the secondary sketch, and then I'm going to just draw, and everything will snap to these projections. So I should be able to just draw some lines. I'm going to create us an arc. So we did earlier, snap to these, and then we should be able to snap to that guy. There we go. That's what we want. So if I turn my body back on, if we take sketch 3 here, so if I take this, let's see. No, that's not what I want. Just put a, oh, I didn't finish the sketch, that's fine. So one thing too, we've got a whole bunch of geometry here that's kind of overlapping. So if you click and hold, it'll pop up a list of everything. So I'm going to select our, oh, interesting, why you, I guess this intermediate keyhole here is actually interfering with this, because what I want to select is that profile and that profile. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this maybe down a little further. So there we go, that's I think what we want. So now the screw head can pop through there and slide across. Now we might have to play with tolerances just to make sure this fits tight enough. But yeah, I think that looks good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So let's just kind of, I got to remember how I did this now. Let's turn this sketch back on. And so I want to edit sketch 2 first, which is our top sketch. I'm going to redraw our 6.5 millimeter circle here. And then we draw our lines from our intersection here to here. Really wish there were I wish the color, because even on my screen it's really hard to see the snap indicators and the constraints as you're drawing, because they're really light blue. Alright, so I think what we did was we extruded this guy down 4 millimeters. Let's see, let's turn off our, let's see, let's look at our extrude. So there's that extrude, there's that one, there's our whole body. So let's extrude -4, that is a cut operation. Okay, there we go. So now let's go back and edit sketch 3. And we did that by turning off our body. And we created some projections. We projected this outside, all of our outside geometry there. That sketch is finished. We turned our body back on. We came in here and we selected this profile, and then we extruded him down another 4 millimeters. And okay, so there's our keyholes. Also up here in the upper right hand corner you can see this little cube. So if I hit home, that'll take us back to our home position, or you can click on any particular side or rotate the cube by clicking on the little triangles. If you want to see something, and you can also just grab the cube and rotate it. Alright, so there's the top side. So that's what our, that's the part that's going to attach to the bottom of the key. So now we need to rotate this guy. So let's look straight on at the bottom. And we're going to put some magnets here. So I'm going to turn off these other sketches just to get them out of the way. Create us a sketch on the bottom, and let's see, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a line right down the middle. That's a construction line, which is what we want. Let's see, so what kind of, how do we want to position these magnets? Maybe we want 3 rows of 3. Like I said, I'm not sure how many it's going to take. I actually did try sticking one to the base of this, and this is just a big solid hunk of metal. And the magnets I have aren't very strong, but they do stick pretty well to this. Let's see if I can never get this little Ziploc bag open here, which is good because I don't want these magnets to get out. Or my cat's eating or something. So it grabs pretty well. So I'm thinking maybe like 4 will be enough, but I want to have provisions in case we want more. So let's see. Let's draw us another center line here. Across this way. And then let's see. So I'm going to place some dimension lines just so I can remember this stuff here. So I hit D to bring up dimension, and this is showing it's a driven. When you create dimensions, it actually is the parameters for the entire model, and it will base all the parameters off of that. Well, in that case it said you're going to over parameterize this model because I drew a rectangle that was already dimensioned. In this case I'm going to say create driven because I just want, it's just for my information so that I can see it and remember where we are here. So alright, so what I want to do, let's see, what if I offset this, and what I want to do I want to divide this into 3, and you can actually do math in the window here. Oops. And I think that looks pretty good. So if we do that, and one thing Fusion doesn't like you to do is if you offset a line, it doesn't want you to offset that same line again. You can't see the actual error at the bottom of the screen for some reason. Let me see if I can make this a little, bring it in a little bit. That didn't really help. Not really help. But so now we've got our dimensions, and I drew us a construction line there, so I'm going to offset this line again. And I'm going to do 38 divided by 4, but I'm going to flip it to this side. I don't know why you can't see my menus. But I'm going to do the same thing here. So let's say this one is 48. And then this one is 48. And the other way you can flip it is if you go to offset, you can just put a negative in, which is usually what I end up doing. Oh, I don't want 48, I want 48 divided by 4. And then I'm just going to make this negative since you can't see my menu. So now we have some little intersections. Is that going to be too close together? I think it might. So what I can do here is I can just change this dimension. That might be too far. Let's try 15. That looks pretty good. Let's do this. And this is the beauty of a parameterized model. Is it just changes like that? Yeah, I like that. It looks a little, pushes them a little closer to the edge. I think I like 15. Obviously, it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna make it negative. We just want to get enough magnets on here to make it stick. So I'm going to try to make this guy 12. Let's see if this guy looks like a 12. Negative 12. Let's see if we put some circles here. So these are 6mm magnets, if I remember correctly. They are, because I measured them. But what I want to do is I want them to kind of snap in tightly. I'm also going to super glue them, but I'm going to make it like maybe 5.8. And when you 3D print, like I said, it gets a little smaller. But this will also make sure that you kind of have to really push them in there so that they kind of press fit as well, which is what I want. I want to make sure they're good and tight. Good and tight in there. So I'm not sure why. Let's do circle. Let's change the line type. And one thing I'm going to do when I first try this, I'm going to put one in each of the 4 corners and see how that works and see how well they hold. Let's see. Oh, there goes heading out. Alright, so I'm just going to extrude these down into our model, and I think what I'm going to do, actually I want to do them all because I want to have them all there. So let's see, the magnets are 2.66mm deep. I think what I'm going to do is maybe do a 2.7, and we'll see how that works. Again, this is all just trial and error, so we'll see how things go. Let's turn off our sketches. Oh, that actually extruded the wrong way, didn't it? Yeah, I don't want that. I want these to cut. And there's a menu that pops up that for some reason you're unable to see. Well, so it actually tells you what operation, if it's going to join, if it's going to create a new body, if it's going to cut. So what I want to do is make sure this says cut, and then I'm going to go down, what did I say, 2.7. And let's kind of preview this. Oh, it's going to go the wrong way. I'm going to go negative 2.7. There we go. All right, so there's just some magnet holes, and there's our keyhole. This is kind of what I was afraid of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll back one in history. I'm going to edit this sketch. I'm going to actually delete this circle, and I'm going to delete this circle, finish the sketch, and then in theory, if I roll our extrude back up, we should just have the ones there. Yeah, looks good. So turn off our sketch. So there's our final body. So we've got some magnet slots on the bottom, we've got a keyhole slot on the top, and so the questions we have are these radiuses here, or radii, are these the right dimensions? Is this keyhole slot going to work? You know, if it's too big or too small or not deep enough. And then I may need to play with these magnets. But what I think I'll probably do is, I think what I'm going to do is stop the stream for now. I'm going to go ahead and print this, which is probably going to take, for a model this size, it doesn't need much support or anything. It'll probably be an hour, maybe an hour and a half or so. So I'll print this, and then I'll probably upload a short just so you can kind of see how it fits in the things we need to fix. And then if we need to fix some stuff up, we can have another stream for that later. But I appreciate you watching, and hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm certainly not a wizard at this. I have done enough mechanical design to be dangerous, mainly for ham radio stuff and other hobbies. But we'll see how this works, and I'll let you know. So until then, everybody take care, and 73.